Welcome back again, my very, very good friend David Luongo. How are you?
I'm doing great, Alberto, and I thank you again for welcoming me back to the channel. I'm excited to talk about the upcoming year.
Yeah, of course, of course. Listen, with this kid, when you have love at first sight, you think you're the only one. I can feel that we both had a
Me too.
love
Me too.
at first sight, right?
Absolutely.
Kind regards to Isa and all your family and from Caracas. We love you so much, and we are so happy we can talk. We can share football, soccer.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's for sure. And tell us about you a little bit about your Milan.
Yeah, so it should be a very different year than last year, which is something that all of us Milan fans are looking forward to after probably one of the most disappointing seasons, and probably in my lifetime as a Milan fan relative to expectations. So we have a lot of people that are coming in and coming out. To start, we have a new coach. Massimiliano Allegri is returning to the club after, I believe, 8 or 9 years and a last Serie A title in 2011, 2012. So I'm really looking forward to having a new manager in, someone that really, really does well and kind of guaranteeing Champions League qualification. And then we have a bunch of new signings coming in. As you well know, we have one of the best midfielders ever, and Luka Modric coming in. Even if he's 39 years old, I'm still so excited, like a little boy on Christmas, to watch that guy play every single week. And then we have another really big signing that was just officially announced today. The Switzerland international from Club Brugge. He's 23 years old. His name is Arden Jashari. He should be playing like a holding midfielder, defensive midfielder, number six. We spent around 38 million to bring him in.
I was going to tell you about 40 million, right? Almost 40 million. Was
Yeah, almost 40. So that was a big deal that took around a month and a half to get over the finish line. So as Milan fans, we've been hearing about him for week after week after week, and we're really excited to see what he can bring to the table. He won the Player of the Year award in Belgium. So although not one of the strongest leagues, still a very big accomplishment for a 22-year-old.
And you still have Leao, right? He
Yep.
remains at the club. Pulisic, which is,
Yep.
it's one of my favorite players of the last 20 years, for sure. For sure. Pulisic cost, that he cost 35,000 euros to Borussia, and they sell him for 63 million.
Yep. Yep.
It has been the most crazy deal ever. And, judging by his results, it was, one of the greatest deals ever.
It was. And then we got him for a nice discount from Chelsea after he kind of got left out of the starting lineup year
Yeah,
after year. So
yeah.
we only brought him in for around 20 million, which feels like a great deal given how well he's been playing for us the last
But
2 years.
so far, so good. He has been very good for Milan. Do you think that Milan has a real chance to win the Serie A?
I'd love to say yes, but the logic in me says probably not. I think given what Napoli has done in this window, and their ability to retain Antonio Conte, I think they're going to be my favorite coming out for the new year. They've brought in a ton of new signings. They've brought in another legend of the game, not quite as legendary as Modric, but Kevin De Bruyne. I think will be able to offer a lot to Serie A.
Oh, absolutely. He's not legendary as Modric, but he's a top player last 15 years. That's for sure.
And on top of that, bringing in, that center back from Bologna, Bukema, he's going to be awesome. They brought in Noah Lang, a winger. They just keep looking to strengthen the roster. I think a guy to watch out for across the European leagues will be Lorenzo Luca. He's a 6'8" striker that Napoli signed from Udinese. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people as kind of a next up and coming Italian player that will, score a bunch of goals under Conte and kind of rotate at that striker position with Lukaku.
Well, now the problem Napoli has is that Milan has Modric, a true winner. You never know.
Absolutely.
I was hoping him to sign with Madrid for his. It's going to be his last year at top level because of the World Cup, but it's not only playing. He's a figure. He's a legend. He can influence some young kids, and he can stimulate the team to win. It won't happen what happened last year. Your
Right.
club melt down because the expectations were so high. I know, I agree with you, and all of a sudden, just they melt down. But Milan is one of the greatest, and we hope Milan will raise again to the top level. Very much needed in Europe also.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think when Milan is back to its best for the game of soccer. It's best for the game of football globally. I mean,
Sure.
we're a very big brand, even if we aren't able to recruit the players that we used to be able to in their prime or still not making as much money as other clubs. But I think someone like Modric is exactly what we need, to your point of getting someone to bring back the identity of winning and a positive um, dressing room culture. I think he's someone that could potentially have a similar impact as someone like Zlatan Ibrahimovic had only a couple years ago when he returned to Milan. He kind of just changed how the locker room acted. He brought back a winning mentality. I think someone that's a serial winner like Modric, who's won such a ridiculous amount of trophies, Champions Leagues, La Ligas, cups, bringing that's right, bringing Croatia to a World Cup final and then to another semifinal. That's exactly the type of player we need. And I think some people are even underestimating how much he can contribute on the field, given that we only have one game a week. Unfortunately, we didn't qualify for any European competitions. So the flip side of that is there's only one game a week to prepare for. So I do feel like even someone at 39 years old like Modric, and he's not a normal 39-year-old, he is not normal by any means, can probably play around 60 minutes a week at a pretty good level.
Oh, for sure, for sure. He's also this guy that can enter last 20 minutes and change the revolution. He can, how to say it in English, he can change the game.
Absolutely.
He
Yep.
can win a game with two passes. And I was watching him preparing for this interview. His view of the field, of the other players, and how he push. He's one of those guys that push the team always forward. I wish you the best. I think that's a very good sign toward this year, and he will leave the legacy there. That's for sure. Tell me about the Serie A. Besides Napoli, what you see? It's Inter a contender again?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because Inter, they lost their coach and Simone Inzaghi, who was incredible in his time there. Nothing short of, passing or exceeding expectations, as opposed to, with the exception of maybe coming up short on a couple of Serie A titles. He brought them to two Champions League finals. He won several cups, league cups like Coppa Italia's, and he played such scintillating football. So I think losing him as a manager is going to be a big difference for the club. They brought in Christian Kivu, who, to my knowledge, only has 13 games at the professional level where he's managed for Parma. So that's someone that with very, very little experience. And I think we might see somewhat of a drop in their level this year. That said, they were able to retain a lot of their roster, and they're very close to bringing in Lookman, who, if we remember, scored that hat trick in the Europa League final just a year ago for Atalanta against Leverkusen. So
Absolutely amazing player. Absolutely. I love him.
I think he should be able to add some more firepower in the attack to rotate with Lautaro and Thuram. That said, if I were to say where I think they'll finish, I still have Napoli first, and I'm kind of playing around with Inter second or third, and maybe Milan in that second or third spot. I think it'll be an interesting top three, four race this year again.
What about Juventus?
Yeah, I think Juventus has been quiet in the transfer market, and if you speak to a lot of Juventus fans, no one is too optimistic about how they look right now. They have Tudor as a manager, which I think some fans are at most content with, but not too thrilled about. Um, and they really haven't gotten better throughout the transfer window. You know, their big move as of now is bringing in Jonathan David. I think he should still help. He was very successful in France playing for Lille and has been pretty good for Canada as well. Um, but they still have a lot of gaps in which they need to address, which they haven't really gotten to yet. I do think Yildiz, the number 10 from Turkey for Juventus, may take that next step this year. And I think for them to really contend for the title, they're going to need guys like Coop Miners, who they spent 60 million on to really play like a $60 million player if they want to kind of contend for the title. But I think they're probably again hanging around, I'd say probably fourth or fifth place this upcoming year.
Oh, yeah. Well, they fell with Vlahovic, right? The, this sign of Vlahovic was a mess for Juventus. I mean, they spent so much money and the expectation was so high. So they kind of, you know, freeze at this time. I think they have to change. Like I have that feeling from Milan that nobody's quiet, nobody is freezing. You guys are. I hope you are the future of this area. I really do.
Thank you. I can only hope that we can get back to our former success. And I think something that may be a really big challenge for us is the ownership and sort of where their expectations are. They seem pretty okay with just making Champions League every year, not really looking to be the best of the best, even within Italy. You know, it's really hard for us to find a deal to get it over the line. You know, as we just discussed with Jashari, it took us about 6, 7 weeks to complete that transfer. Where you look at other clubs and they can kind of freely spend a couple more million on a player, and it's not a big deal. It's not drawn out. So it's something that I really aspire for and hope that we can get together. But I have a lot of questions on how possible it is under the current management.
Couple more questions. I feel that anyone can win. I really hope that Milan also can win, but the you have to look for Europe. That's my point. Any other team you see that can go in the first four? I mean, you have Napoli, Inter, Milan, Juve, and maybe Atalanta, right?
Yeah, so I think I'm glad you brought up Atalanta. I think this would kind of be related to each other. Atalanta lost their coach and Gianpaolo Gasperini, who went to Roma. I think Atalanta is going to see quite a decline if they not only sell Lookman, but they lose a coach that brought them success for such a long time.
Yeah.
I think he brought such an identity of attacking football, of kind of free-flowing, all-out attack. It was a certain sort of charisma that was around that group that I think won't be quite replaced by Ivan Juric, who, by all accounts, has not done well in his last couple of managerial roles. He was at Roma. He got sacked middle of the season. He went to Southampton, a depleted squad who really didn't have much to offer in the Premier League, but they got relegated and really did poorly. Um, so the flip side of that is Gasperini went to Roma. Roma was one of the brightest parts of Serie A in the second half of last season. And they've made a couple good signings that I think will strengthen the squad as a whole. And Gasperini coming there, I think could push Roma into the top four.
I was leaving Roma for the last because I love it. I love Roma. Even if they haven't won anything, I mean, when they won with the Mourinho, I was so happy, and they almost win the Europe
Europa League. Yep.
Right? The Europe League. I was sad for that, but I didn't understand why Mourinho left. I didn't. There was maybe some problem because he's not an easy guy, right? But he changed the mindset of the whole team and the whole city. And, I hope this year also Roma with Gasperini will be also a contender. I really do. At least for the Europe spots.
I think they will be. And I think it'll be another very interesting title race and top four race to keep an eye on if people aren't primarily watching Calcio and Serie A. I think it's an exciting league at the top because, the teams aren't too far apart. There's not one clear favorite that will walk away with the title by, double-digit points. I think it should be another close year.
Well, and I cannot finish this podcast without asking you for my Real Madrid. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think it's another interesting year to watch. They have made a lot of moves as well, particularly in the back line, right? You're going to have Huijsen, who's presumably starting. I'm a really big fan of his play, and I know Juventus fans and the club themselves are kicking themselves over letting him go for such a cheap fee
Oh my God,
for them to get flipped again for way more than what they sold him for. I think he's going to be a great addition. I'm not as big on Asensio, the other center back, so I think he should probably play ahead of him.
Sure, that's for sure.
I like that player from Benfica, Carreras, as a left back. I think he can offer more going forward than like a Mendy or even a Fran Garcia. So I would expect him to slot in. And obviously, bringing in Trent Alexander-Arnold is another level of attacking threat that they can bring. But I guess the big question is, how quickly can Xabi Alonso get his ideas there? How quickly can they buy into his system? And can they have those wonderfully talented attacking players work more cohesively when they need to defend more? That will be the big question. I think it's going to be hard to see. Some of those guys will have to sacrifice something. I don't know who it's going to be. It's going to be Mbappe. Is it going to be Vinny? Is it going to be Bellingham? But they need to work better as a unit if they want the whole team to work as a system. Because Xabi Alonso is not going to stand for any laziness, anything short of
oh, that's for sure. It's not. He's not granddad like my Carleto. Such a nice guy. That, well, I hope you know more than Madrid. You know more Madrid than many fans that I know. So I appreciate that. I really do. Well, David, anything you want to add to this video so we can finish with your words? It will be my pleasure.
No, I just thank you again for having me on. I really hope we both have great years. Whether that brings us a league title, in your case, maybe, number 16 in the Champions League. That would be something. I think football is at its best when Milan and Madrid are at the top of Europe and at the top of their leagues. So can only hope that will continue on this year or return for us this year.
I will root for Milan and you will root for Madrid. So it will be a nice combination. David, thank you so much. So much. I'm so happy
to
have you here. It's a different approach in English, Serie A, and a whole new world that probably without you I won't sneak in. So thank you very much. Say hello to everybody. The blessings to all your family, and you know, to you. You are my white boy from Boston. That I love you so much.
Love you too, Alberto.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, stop. Bye-bye. Hey, subscribe. Don't forget about that.